Hello, my name is Adebayo Akomolafe, and I'm so privileged and um, happy to be speaking with us at this conference celebrating the World Localization Day. And I've been invited by Helena to say a few words about localization. I'm in India right now, Chennai, with my family. As you all probably know, India has been the heart of global attention um, with regards to this epidemiological, viral, anthropocenic crisis that is the pandemic. And it's been difficult. We're learning to navigate um, the ruins of um, governmental regimes and impositions with other very, very strong political matters that distress notions of safety and well-being. Um, but these days, I've been thinking about something that might seem quite distanced from our present occupations with the pandemic, specifically 1692, Salem, Massachusetts, the site of the one of the world's most critical sites for the Salem witch trials, in which about 19 people, women mostly, were accused of being witches and were to be hanged, and them along with their collaborators. Um, it's very interesting to know that this phenomenon stretched over 4 centuries, um, from the 14th century to the 18th century. I think the last known witch conviction was in 1782, Switzerland. And even before Salem, Salem is notorious. Um, there was Connecticut. Now, I bring up the infamous witch trials because I think, in some sense, it has some bearing to the events of today. At least it offers a cautious model for how crisis often becomes the occasion for new kinds of decolonial um, cartographical projects. So, as you might know, during those times, charged with fables and stories and narratives about demons and Satan possessing, especially those within the lower class, but some higher class people were also accused. Um, Suspicions materialized and crystallized into accusations, and accusations mostly became convictions and executions. You were damned if you floated in a body of water, and you were damned if you did not float. So if you were accused, um, your only source of hope was to escape, was to flee, and possibly seek sanctuary. In a sense, this pandemic is like an accusation. If we relieve accusations from their literary or linguistic or social or anthropogenic constraints, we are being accused by a pandemic. That is, we are being disrupted and distressed, and the usual props with which we meet a more than human world, the usual concepts, the usual technologies are failing. Like I said, here in India, the government has all but washed its hands off and said, well, we've tried. There might even be a third wave coming, but you're largely on your own. There's not much we can do about this. This accusation feels like the disruption of the normal. But here's the thing, every time an accusation erupts, every time a crisis splits the air into two and creates seismic shifts, an invitation is born, an invitation to think differently, to taste differently, to feel, eat differently, to recalibrate our notions of touch, our notions of presence, what work and education might mean. The accusation of our time is not an accusation that is directed towards individual human beings. I feel that this cosmic, so to speak, accusation is directed at the anthropos, which is this large, industrialized, rational human enterprise that is continually terraforming the planet to create a flat terrain for the perpetuity and the continuity of human agency. Modernity is the accused in this instance. And now there are metabolic rifts and cracks appearing on the body of this huge enterprise. Our source of salvation, I don't want to use the word salvation, our source of possible emancipation, not to borrow the eschatological terms that speak of Messiah's returning, our source of emancipation might dwell in us living and staying with the trouble in those cracks. The prop, the technology that made distance our way of eating, that cradled the human to such a level that the only way we envision well-being is if it comes across toxic distances. The only way we understand education is to think of ourselves within factory-like conditions. It seems all of that is under siege, beleaguered, troubled, distressed by the events of our time. This is why I talk about localization or think about localization as this coming down to earth, as this going under, as this fleeing, as those who were accused in the 17th century, the fleeing and the escaping and the exiling of our bodies to touch and seek sanctuary. We may no longer be able to do the things that we used to do, and the visage or the veneer of absolute freedom is crumbling away. So this is an invitation then. The World Localization Day is not just a celebration of this deep invitation and concept to stay with ground, to recalibrate the way we eat, the way we think, to notice the large techno-bureaucratic structure that reproduces not just our livelihoods at the immense costs usually outsourced to the African continent. It's not just that, it's almost our only source of hope now. It's a necessity that we need to find a different way of living with each other, living with the planet. And that is coming home in a different way. We have to take our lessons from those who were stolen across transatlantic waters. What do we do when we're stolen? What do we do when home does not look like home any longer? What do we do when we are accused and home is a noose around our necks? Either that or the cracks before us. What do we do then? I think it is time for us to descend, to perform the rituals of catabasis, to go deep under, and to learn how to restitch and reweave and rebraid our bodies with a planet that has never been, dead, mute, and silent. A planet that is rejecting our claims to centrality, a planet that is withdrawing its endorsement for unbothered growth and, perpetual and infinite progress. We're being invited to be small now, to be intimate, to perform inquiry in place, with the others that have never left us and have actually been the conditions of our survival. Let this World Localization Day and this conference be the centrality or the centralization and the promotion of this absolute necessity if we are to live well, if we are to see our children, if we are to be well with the planet. Let it be this invitation to the accused to leave the labor of the city behind, metaphorically, and to find that place in the so-called wilderness where there is a kind of strange abundance that is waiting for us beyond the toxic fumes of industrial failure. Thank you so much, and may our road be rough, and may the disturbance be our sanctuary. Thank you.